Welcome home, everybody. This is Native Land Pod. I'm Angela Rye. I'm with Andrew, Gillum, and Tiffany Cross.
What up? Can I talk?
Right.
Does it go? Okay to say what up?
You gonna do what you gonna do.
Oh, my God. Every week.
This is our mini pod, and we are so thrilled to have our sister, our friend, joining us fresh on the other side into liberation and freedom. Marilyn Mosby, former Baltimore City State's attorney, legend in her own right, advocate for the people, and also a local host committee member, really our chair for the State of the People General Assembly just last week. Marilyn, welcome to the show again.
Marilyn!
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see everyone
You feel
on
like
the
our
other
fourth
side
host.
of liberation.
Yes. We glad that you liberated her. You look really good, Marilyn. I was looking at you when we were setting up. You look gorgeous.
Thank you, Tiffany. You always do. I was telling her she is channeling the Billie Holiday. I think her coming to Baltimore, on Juneteenth, did something.
Yes.
I'm down in Macon, and it's so outside of Macon, in one of those black towns I was telling y'all about, and it's so hot down here. I had blown out my hair, and this morning I washed it because it was so hot and humid, and now I'm looking at how gorgeous you and Angela look. And how gorgeous Andrew always looks. And I'm like, I should have kept myself together before
Hey, listen, it was 93 degrees at 10.
I didn't hear what neither one of y'all said. One of y'all go.
Marilyn, you go.
No, I said I love it. She looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And I said in Tallahassee, it was 93 degrees at 10 o'clock this morning. So
hot.
Hot. Welcome to the
my
dirty
face
hot
is grateful for the humidity and no makeup, though. So I will say that feels... I barely put lotion on my face this morning.
That's a
good
thing.
The humidity is moisturizing. Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
Marilyn,
yeah. I was gonna say the people don't want to hear about our.
The people care about skin routine. What do you mean?
Well, I want to, if you can, Marilyn, talk about how you're feeling.
Yes.
You had to serve a sentence for something you didn't do, which we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, and even though just true to form, the things are beeping to support what we're saying. And we're so grateful, Andrew, for all of that backup. But Marilyn, I'd love to hear from you on how you're feeling now.
So, Angela, first and foremost, I feel so much gratitude. I think, God has been so good to me and my girls. He has covered us through the midst of this storm. And I say it all the time in every sort of speech or any sort of acknowledgement that I can. Unfortunately, a lot of people in my life that I thought would be there for me weren't. And that was also part of the larger sort of divine plan. Before God elevates, he separates and he exposes the hearts of the individuals that aren't really for you.
Come on.
But by the same token, I feel so much gratitude because he did send earth angels into my life where, they were able to pour into me and my girls in a way. And I have to acknowledge, from the bottom of my heart, acknowledge and appreciate you. I gotta say, Angela, I was drowning. You threw me a lifeline when I didn't even think I could make it. Financially, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, reputationally, they tried to break me on so many different levels and make an example out of me for what I stood for. I had absolutely nothing to do with anything that I did wrong. I withdrew my own retirement savings that I put away every 2 weeks to buy property. That was the extent of what I was accused of. And having to fight the federal government, it was really difficult. I lost everything. I lost my marriage. I lost my career. I lost my house. I lost my car. It was my home. It was a lot. And so many folks that I thought, again, would be there weren't, but you were. And I just want to please acknowledge this woman right here who fights for the people on so many different levels. And she's seen this Black woman in need. And I just got to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, Angela. You have no idea. You used your platform to elevate the circumstance. And it was thanks to you. We had a national campaign and, organizations signed on, Black Win with Black Women and, the Congressional Black Caucus and 60 attorneys and Ben Crump. And, it started with you.
Over 100,000 people, right?
100,000 people signed that petition. Angela she delved into my case, and if you would have seen her living room, she had notebooks and, she got down to the nitty gritty, and I'm so incredibly grateful. So when you say, how do I feel in this moment? I feel so much gratitude.
That's powerful.
I love to hear it. I do this all the time. It's important to me to just acknowledge Tiff and Andrew did not hesitate when we talked about bringing this to this podcast and getting a petition done and all of that. And to our professional development program students, all of the work they did on graphics, on everything. But I really, don't want to necessarily take you back there. I think it's so important to talk about the road ahead. And in that, Andrew, you've seen this yourself. Yes. Marilyn is just getting out of this and now facing another thing. So Marilyn, if you could talk about kind of what you're up against and how folks are coming at you now that you feel like you're in the clear. They cut the bracelet off. You're not being monitored, no longer a curfew. And now this.
So, it's constant a battle. One of the things that they attempted to do while I was, right now, we're still waiting for the Fourth Circuit to make a decision on my appeal. And we feel really great about the appeal. However, that argument was in January. We're still waiting, and it's still looming, and it can come any day. The government was attempting to take my house and to take my law license before the appeal was even exhausted. And the Supreme Court in Maryland basically said that you cannot do that. So it's been a constant struggle and a battle that we won temporarily until this appeal is ultimately decided. But as soon as you take one step forward, it feels like you're being pulled 3 steps back. My predecessor, well, no, actually, he's the person who has come in after me. I will just say Ivan Bates, who's the newly elected state's attorney, has used this opportunity to try to hurt me. He filed an attorney grievance against me on one particular case. Despite the thousands of cases that I oversaw that I didn't personally investigate, really shucking and jiving, we got those folks that tap dance and hold the water for the status quo. And that's essentially what's being done. So I have to now, on top of wait for the Court of Appeals decision to be heard to determine whether I'm going to keep my law license in my home, I now have to fight an additional battle, which is to defend myself in the Adnan Syed case, which I believe I was right in making that determination. He has challenged my discretion and has made an unprecedented move to file an attorney grievance against me and the attorney who actually investigated the case. And so we are both, again, battling again on the front to try to keep my law license in defense of that case.
Because you brought up the Syed case, one, your successor, Ivan Bates, I'm curious why the focus and attention on you. I imagine the good people of Baltimore would like their tax dollars being used and resources on something certainly more pressing. I've known you, Marilyn, for over 10 years now. I can assure the people of Baltimore you are not a fugitive. You are not a threat to society. You have certainly enhanced that city, and your influence cast a wide shadow across the nation. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on why he's so focused on you. Secondly, if you would, just for the benefit of our audience, give a little background on what the Syed case is and what the issue is since you brought it up.
So Adnan Syed was another one. I created the first conviction integrity unit in the entire state of Maryland, where we did reinvestigations into claims of actual innocence. I also had a sentencing review unit where we modified and reduced the sentences of juvenile lifers in the elderly prison population, where we released more than 60 individuals by modifying their sentence. I had an individual attorney that actually was a senior attorney at the public defender's office, Becky Feldman, who came over and worked my sentencing review unit. And under her leadership, she actually reviewed the Adnan Syed case. This is a case that dates very far back, where he was wrongly, we believe after a thorough investigation, that he was wrongly convicted of murder. And so we did our due diligence. We investigated the case and ultimately made a recommendation to vacate the conviction of Adnan Syed, and rightfully so, we would argue. As you are aware, prosecutors, we exercise our discretion every single day, right? In thousands of cases. And this particular case is a high profile case. It's rather controversial, but when you are elected into these positions and as a leader, you have to make a decision, right? You stand on the moral beliefs of what you're doing is right. And that's what we did. I got to say, the mission of my office was justice over convictions. Unfortunately, I think that the newly elected state's attorney is playing politics, just like Trump, right? And unfortunately, he took advantage of the fact that I had this bogus investigation and looming criminal case hanging over me. He had run against me before and lost, but this time around he won. And he ran on a platform of pretty much reversing everything that I had done in my office, progressive related. And he did just that. So now when you ask, why would someone do something like that? Well, he was, the Fox 45, who's a local sort of Fox station, put $200,000 into my race to support him. Right. And so why would he do that? He carries the weight of the status quo. And so, unfortunately, the people of Baltimore voted for this man. And just like Trump, they voted against their own self-interest. So you get what you voted for. And so that's who he is. He's showing to be who he's always been.
Boy.
Yeah.
This all rings so familiar, Marilyn. But I just first got to say, you have breath in your body.
Yes.
You are yes on the other side, and you and I can talk one-on-one about the trauma of all of it and how you get revisited by it. If not every moment of the day, every other moment of the day, you feel some reminder. But if I could just say, you and I both, and maybe more than us, will have to work very hard to expel those voices that operate in our head that cause us to be curious about everything we do, how people feel about us, whether we're welcome to move in certain spaces or not. You're on the other side of it. But as you know, this trauma it's certainly, I hope it isn't, but it feels like it might be a lifetime wound that constantly has to be tended to in some way. And that maybe over time, what happens is that our heart won't always feel like it's carried outside our body on our sleeves, that it won't impact us so severely as it did from the beginning as time passes by. I'll also just say this, that the enemies who are, again, rising against you, and I wholly accept your description of this new prosecutor. These folks, the devil comes to kill and destroy, right? He comes to kill and destroy. And in fact, I have now begun to accept in that order, right? They kill you, destroy you, kill you again just to make sure you're dead, right? My grandmother said, they're going to kill you dead. I thought if they kill you, you're already dead. No, they're going to kill you dead. So just be aware that Tiffany said, I think a little earlier, that you're not a threat. You're not this. I just want to reassure you, you remain a threat. So long as you have breath in your body and you are the woman of character that I came to know many years ago when you first got elected, you will continue to be a threat by, how do we say, getting in good trouble. And I just want to admonish you, friend, that I think I'm speaking to myself too. We have to not shrink from the gifts that God has given us to continue to operate in good trouble. And I think the beauty in that is that the same people who were attracted to you when they elected you for that fight, for that fierceness, those are going to be the same champions who come riding and dying for you on this one. Lastly, the people who disappointed us by not showing up, I just want to, and part of my process of releasing them was simply to say, everybody doesn't operate at the same level of freedom as we think. Everybody that we thought was courageous ain't courageous. Everybody who was running with us and acting like they were equals and equal to our hustle were actually just pretenders and hangers on. And I think when we look at them sympathetically as, I'm sorry, I thought you were of sterner things. You're not. Let it go. Because you got too much work to do. The haters, Detractors, they're there for a mission. I acknowledge that, but you're here for a mission too. And I believe yours is greater, more powerful, more impactful. And just cheering and riding for you because you deserve it. God got you here again because you deserve it. Now stand in it.
And I just want to say, I mean, I think even looking to folks like yourself who are champions for our people and for our communities and for justice, right? And for all people, and the way in which the status quo came for you, I've learned from it. And I say this all the time. What happened to me, I don't have any sort of bitterness in my heart. I have nothing but gratitude, even for the haters,
Yes,
right? Like, because I've been able to delve and into deeply within myself, and I'm a better person as a result of the experience. I always say that you learn lessons. I learned lessons at rock bottom that peaks of mountaintops will never teach you.
Yeah.
And so it required me to hit rock bottom, for me to lose everything, for me to open my eyes and to get back to myself. And I would love to take the credit for it, but I can't. Like, at the end of the day, I don't look like what I've been through because I'm divinely protected, just like you are divinely protected, just like Tiff is divinely protected, right? Like, no matter what they try to do, as you've already said, the gifts and the talents that God has given us, the devil will try to stop so that we don't understand and recognize our purpose and our greater purpose. And so I'm grateful for it all. I've learned from all of you. I am so grateful for your support, and I've learned, right? I've grown. So there's no reason for me to have any sort of animosity. But what I will also know, knowing myself, is that I will always speak truth to power.
That's it.
Right? Like, I'm always going to tell the truth. And so if that ruffles feathers, then guess what? So be it.
Marilyn, let me ask you, I'm writing about heartbreak right now, and I'm writing about a conversation that you and I had when you were going through all of this. And I don't want to say it now because I want people to read it when it comes out. But I remember walking away thinking, man, at her lowest point, she poured into me with a message that was so profound. But what I don't think that our that society at large realizes is when you're charged with something like this, Andrew, certainly, firsthand, it is not, okay, you're found not guilty or you have 1 year probation. It lingers with you financially. It lingers with you socially. And it kind of hurt my heart to hear you say that, Andrew, that you have to think about, am I welcome in certain spaces and how people might regard you. Any space Andrew ain't welcome, let me just tell y'all, then I'm not welcome.
I ain't going.
Right.
Forget y'all.
I don't want to go. Yeah. Any space Angela ain't welcome, I'm not going. So, I mean, we move as community. But
I will add one thing, though.
Yeah.
You got to go into those spaces, right? Like, God has poured into you and you are an example of his existence.
Yeah.
So you going into those spaces and glowing and being successful and just as articulate and intelligent, showcasing your talents, you got to do that. Sorry, Tiff.
That's okay. We're coming up on time. Nick, our producer, is telling us we got to go, but I want to give you a chance to answer this question. What are the implications that you will carry long after this? Because I'm trying to punctuate the point to our audience that these things are life-changing, and it can also be life-devastating. You have 2 girls,
both,
and so we all celebrate it. Like, yay, Marilyn does not have to go behind bars. But there are so many other things to consider. Like you said, you lost both homes in Florida, correct?
I had to sell one for attorney's fees, and then one is pending this appeal. The government is trying to take it.
Okay. Well, we want you to keep that home because you didn't do anything wrong. It's your home. And America lied to us. That was the American dream, the home ownership. And you beat the odds, went to college, went to grad school. And did all that, and now they took it because they played a long game when you stood on those stairs and said our time is now against the charges, against the officers who were charged in the murder of Freddie Gray. And then financially, you still have attorney fees, I would imagine, that you're still paying.
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of implications. I mean, right now, I'm technically a felon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so as a felon, we know in this country, if you're not Donald Trump with 34 felonies, and you running for president, you are a second-class citizen, especially for Black people. You can no longer apply for a job. You can no longer apply for housing. You can't go back to school because you can't get any financial aid. And then what other recourse do you have but to what often happens in our communities, the individuals going back and doing what they were doing in the first place? And so that's the biggest sort of implication as a result of this conviction. I'm hopeful though. I operate in faith and not fear. And I know that God is real and he's protected me all this time, that, you know, I'm hopeful that that conviction will be reversed. I think the greater sort of implications for me have always been my concern for my children.
Yeah.
Because my girls are 14 and 16 years old, and they have had to experience this trauma with me. When I went through my anxiety, when I went through the divorce, when we went through the stress of, you know, everything that was put upon me, they saw my depression, right? They saw me crying at night. They saw when I couldn't get out of bed. They saw when, you know, organizations were like, I need you to resign, right? Black women organizations, as a result of this ridiculous.
Can we call them out? Because I think they should be. The Links are one of the organizations
perpetuating
That's why I
white
quit.
supremacy.
Yeah, like I don't understand. I don't want to be affiliated with women who cannot stand with me in the storm. And so if if you are so into the white gaze that you have to say, we can't be affiliated with you anymore, nothing about that says sisterhood to me. So I don't know if the national organization of the Links or people who represent the Links, how you all feel about it. But please, if you have some sort of justification, well, we want to hear from you. Give us a video and tell us why you thought it was appropriate to not stand with Marilyn Mosby when over 100,000 people stood with her that they signed a petition. But I believe it's more than 100,000 people who were cheering for you, Marilyn. So that's very disappointing. So I know how you feel. That's
no, and I appreciate that, Tiff, and I appreciate the question. But it was in that moment that my daughter, I had it on the speakerphone, and my daughter heard them say, "We need your resignation," and started crying. Right, like, so those are the implications that are like, I guess, long-term effects. Yeah. So we put our girls in therapy. God has been so good to them. He's covered them. They are amazing. I love it. You know, we just dropped off Nylin after the State of the People. We had a phenomenal State of the People in Baltimore. Let me tell you, the national team was amazing. I met so many talented folks. The visionary leadership of Angela, again, bringing, you know, all of the services, connecting the dots for local and national folks there. But I couldn't make the last day, and I was so disappointed. I wanted to see Joy Reid as well as you, Tiffany, and I missed you. But we had to take my daughter to a pre-college program. So okay. God has been so good to me. I have no reason to complain.
I love it. Well,
love
thank
that
you
spirit, sis.
For making time for us. It's amazing. And Angela thanked everybody. And obviously we were right there with Angela, but it really was her who looked into your case and said, she just in multiple chats, she was dropped like, do y'all know? Have y'all read about this? What's happening? And we were all right behind her, but it was her to initially raise this to a national profile, because I really believe it would have gone another way.
I agree.
You know, as Ida B. Wells said, right.
I would have been in prison.
Shine the light on things to see the truth. And so
can I just say one more shout out?
Yes,
I know Tiff, but I just want to say one more shout out. Joy Reid. So
I know.
No,
I know.
I'm not being
Joy.
You guys,
I said Joy was amazing.
I'm not being humble. I like to be honest about what is in my wheelhouse to do and what is not. Joy had a phenomenal platform on a network that shall not be named because we shall not watch. But when Joy broke that case down, okay, Tiff, when Joy broke that case down, it went viral. People were like, oh my God. And she did it. You guys had the interview. I mean, it just, anyway, everybody, we thank God for y'all.
And that's when I was just like, that's what I mean about the Earth Angels. Like, yes, God, you get it.
Yeah,
and that's what we do as just Black women.
Or the Win with Black Women call? Like,
Joe Take Edie. Joe,
we love you.
I mean, she doing God's work out here.
I love that.
Love you, Joe. Yeah.
And y'all, through that, I hope you know you are helping to shift culture, because some of the battle that we have here is getting our folks to divorce themselves from the attitudes and positioning of racist, white supremacist men who have said how we're all supposed to feel, act, and respond in these situations, accepting when they find themselves there. A rarity. but accepting when they find themselves there. And we don't need any other example beyond Donald Trump to know that the earth then moves very differently, depending on who the focus is pointed at the time. But Marilyn, sister, we love you. We thank you for taking our time and bringing the listeners an update on what's going on. Your smile, your grace is effusive. And so if you're listening, I hope you can hear that smile through the system. And if you're watching, you can certainly see the beauty in it all. So thank you, sis, and we're always there for you.
Thank you, guys. Love you guys.
Love you back, girl. That was an excellent conversation, y'all. We just want to remind you, if you enjoyed listening, learning, and want to participate in these sort of brief deep dives into an issue, a topic area, please like this episode, share it with your friends, subscribe, obviously, forward it along with a message. Subscribe to Native Land Pod, the best thing going on the internet and in the world. But for all seriousness, we love and care for Marilyn. We wish her the very best. I hope you all will continue to lift her and your love and care. With that, we out here. Welcome home.
Not we out here. Native Land Pod is a production of iHeart Radio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeart Radio, visit the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.